Did you know that there was a time when controlling Bengal meant controlling the heartbeat of India? It was a region so rich and powerful that whoever held Bengal in their grasp held the entire subcontinent under their command. Let's take a step back in time and uncover the grandeur of ancient Bengal, a land where prosperity was not just a dream, but a daily reality. Picture this: bustling ports where merchants from distant lands traded silks, spices, and stories. Streets alive with the vibrancy of artists, poets, and scholars. Bengal was a living tapestry of wealth and culture, a place where every corner hummed with life and innovation. But what was the secret behind Bengal's riches? It was the land itself, a gift from nature. Nestled in one of the most fertile regions on the planet, Bengal was where the mighty Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers converged with the sea, creating a delta unlike any other. This natural bounty turned Bengal into a powerhouse of agriculture, where fields of golden rice fed not just its own people, but became the breadbasket of empires. Bengal wasn't just a land, it was a beacon, a place where knowledge, culture, and wealth converged to create something truly extraordinary. Imagine a land where the soil was so rich, the crops so abundant, that it became the envy of kingdoms. But Bengal wasn't just about wealth. Temples and palaces stood as silent witnesses to a time when art, learning, and spirituality flourished. Bengal was more than a region. It was the cradle of civilization in the East, shaping the destiny of an entire subcontinent. But this prosperity wasn't destined to last forever. Despite its magnificence, Bengal's history has been marred by constant invasions and foreign rule. From the early Islamic invasions to the harsh rule of the British East India Company, Bengal was repeatedly battered by external forces. Bengal endured wave after wave of invasions. The medieval period marked a significant decline of Bengal. The spread of Islam in Bengal was accompanied by systematic changes in the region's demographics and culture. The once thriving Hindu and Buddhist cultures faced pressure. Temples were repurposed, and traditional practices were challenged, leading to a detachment from Bengal's ancient roots. The process of conversion and religious expansion altered the region's cultural landscape, leaving a lasting impact on its identity. The 18th century ushered in another wave of exploitation with the arrival of the British East India Company. This period of British colonial rule was marked by severe exploitation and neglect. Bengal's economic and cultural vibrancy was overshadowed by the company's greed, culminating in the Great Famine of 1770. Millions of Bengalis perished due to mismanagement and the harsh economic policies of the colonial administration. The Great Famine was a brutal testament to the British disregard for the well-being of Bengal's people, adding another chapter of suffering to the region's long history of adversity. The impact of these invasions and the subsequent colonial exploitation set the stage for profound changes in Bengal's social and cultural fabric. The demographic shifts and religious conversions during these periods laid the groundwork for future conflicts and transformations, shaping Bengal's journey through history. 1947, a year that changed everything. When India was divided, the soul of Bengal was torn apart, split into West Bengal and East Pakistan. The initial division in 1905, though later reversed, sowed seeds of discord that would come to fruition in 1947. The second partition saw Bengal cleaved into West Bengal and East Pakistan, leading to untold suffering. The partition of Bengal was a heart-wrenching episode in history. The events of Direct Action Day in 1946 set the stage for the chaos that followed. As tensions escalated, the communal violence unleashed on this day. The 1947 partition further exacerbated these wounds, displacing millions and tearing families apart. The once vibrant social and cultural fabric of Bengal was left in tatters. fake narrative driven by Islamic fundamentalists fostered a climate of distrust and fear, ultimately contributing to the division of Bengal and the broader partition of India. Jinnah and his allies propagated the idea that religion was the sole basis for national identity, which fueled the demand for a separate state. This divisive ideology was used to justify the creation of Pakistan and, by extension, the partition of Bengal. The social and cultural disintegration caused by this division has continued to affect the region long after the borders were drawn. The impact of the partition was not merely a geographical split, but a profound rupture in the shared history and identity of Bengal. This painful chapter reshaped the region's trajectory. For West Bengal, though scarred and bleeding, the years after partition slowly brought a return to peace. But for East Bengal, later known as East Pakistan, a darker, more tragic fate awaited. The people of East Bengal remained, year after year, among the most unfortunate, persecuted, suppressed, and finally pushed to the breaking point by their own rulers. West Bengal, once a hotbed of violence, displacement, and despair, slowly started breathing again. Kolkata's streets began to echo once more with the sounds of poets, artists, and intellectuals, as the culture that had once defined Bengal's glory was revived. Partition had scarred them, yes, but for those on the western side, peace was something they could gradually rebuild. But just beyond the border, in East Bengal, peace was nothing more than a dream. The newly created Pakistan, split by thousands of kilometers of Indian territory, never treated East Bengal as an equal. No. The people there were seen as nothing more than resources to be exploited, their voices silenced, their culture suppressed.
Amateur videotape, which has been kept hidden for the past 9 months, shows Pakistani soldiers executing students, professors, and workers at the University of Dhaka last March 26. The first sequence shows Pakistani soldiers forcing students to carry and pile up the bodies of victims already killed. This is just one small episode of the Pakistani massacre. The killings were the beginning of a reign of terror by Pakistan, which set off a revolt by the Bengalis and ended in the liberation of Bangladesh. Ron Nesson, NBC News, Dhaka.
These were the most unfortunate people, subjected to exploitation, denied their dignity, again and again. Year after year, the oppression deepened. East Pakistan, home to over half the population of the country, saw its resources drained to benefit the western half. The people's pleas for cultural recognition, economic justice, and political representation were met with contempt. Urdu, the language of West Pakistan, was forced upon them. Their beloved Bengali language dismissed. The people of East Pakistan were suffocating under their own flag.
Very clear to you, leave no doubt that the state language of Pakistan is going to be Urdu and no other language.
But in 1971, the anger, frustration, and deep-seated pain of the Bengali people erupted into an unstoppable force. What began as peaceful demands for autonomy quickly turned into a full-blown revolution after the brutal events of March 25th, when the Pakistani military launched Operation Searchlight, a campaign of terror, rape, and mass murder designed to silence the people forever. The Pakistani military's attempt to destroy the spirit of East Pakistan only fueled the fire of resistance. The Mukti Bahini, a force of freedom fighters, rose from the ashes, determined to reclaim their dignity. And across the border, India saw the injustice for what it was, an atrocity against humanity. The Indian army stood shoulder to shoulder with the Mukti Bahini, and together they fought a war for freedom, a war for Bangladesh. The most unfortunate people who had faced persecution for years finally had the chance to claim their destiny. And on December 16, 1971, after 9 months of unimaginable suffering, Bangladesh emerged as a free nation. The Pakistani military surrendered, their reign of terror brought to an end. Decades after gaining independence, transforming itself into an economic success story. From the chaos of war, Bangladesh had become a symbol of hope. But shadows lingered. As Bangladesh's economy grew, so did tensions. The fragile balance of peace has been shattered by conflict over reservation policies. What began as political disagreements soon spiraled into chaos. Protests erupted, streets became battlefields, and the very fabric of the nation seemed to unravel. The situation became so dire that the Prime Minister was forced to flee the country. Bangladesh, once a rising power, now teetered on the edge of disaster. History repeated itself in a grim cycle. Temples desecrated, families torn apart, lives shattered. The echoes of the early Islamic conquests reverberated through the land once again. And as always, the most unfortunate people, the Hindu minority, from the horrors of partition to the violence of the Liberation War, they have been caught in the crossfire of history. And now, in this new era of conflict, they once again find themselves the victims of hate, forced to live in fear as their homes and temples are destroyed, forced to endure suffering that no human should bear. A mindset that declares one religion as supreme and others as inferior. This dangerous ideology has perpetuated a cycle of persecution. The struggle here is not just for peace, but against a belief system that seeks to erase diversity and impose a singular vision of supremacy. The hope remains that one day, this oppressive mindset will be defeated, allowing a future where respect and harmony prevail over hatred and division. The most unfortunate people may have faced centuries of persecution, but they have also shown an unyielding will to survive. And with the world watching, perhaps this time, the cycle of violence can be broken. Perhaps this time, the people of Bangladesh, of all faiths, can live in peace, without fear, and build a future where they are no longer defined by their suffering, but by their strength. If this narrative resonated with you, if you believe in the power of empathy and equality, hit that like button, share this video far and wide, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Let's spark a movement towards a world where peace and understanding reign. Thank you for joining us on Informed Insights, and stay tuned as we continue to explore the stories that shape our world.